Jordan Gill is the head honcho of a business operations firm that serves service-based and digital product business owners who are wasting their time on manual tasks that could easily be automated or delegated. She loves giving entrepreneurs their time back. She loves giving entrepreneurs their time back to work more in their zone of genius or even take more vacations. Welcome to the Business Building Rockstars show, Jordan.
Thank you so much for having me.
For sure. So we've got some really fun stuff to dive into today. And before we do, that's a bit of a high-level overview of what you do, but can you just tell my listeners a bit more about what you do on a day-to-day basis to serve and support your people?
Absolutely. So I am all things hashtag get it off your plate. I just see so many business owners tinkering with things that are so not even attached to any sort of revenue generating activity or visibility growth activity. And I just want to get those things automated and delegated as quickly as possible. So I really I preach that, I live that. So it's funny, people, I have basically a 5-hour process to create any sort of mini course because all I have to do is go into like my real life and either screenshot or like walk through what is already in there versus having to create all this new content. And so literally from idea to hit publish and sell the dang thing, it's done. So just things like that. I have a 5-minute client onboarding process that I teach, a framework. And, there's just so many things that business owners are having to spend their time on because it's business. However, you need to be spending your time in your zone of genius and, when you're starting out, zone of excellence. But all of that other gunk, like, let's get it off your plate.
I love it. And so when you talk about zone of genius, zone of excellence, I imagine you're referring to language from Gay Hendricks and The Big Leap. Anybody has
that book?
Love it. If anybody hasn't read that, highly recommended. The Big Leap by Gay Hendricks. So how on earth did you figure out that you are a process person, that you're a systems person? You also have a podcast, by the way, Systems Saved Me. How did you figure out that this was your zone of genius?
Totally. So it was not something that I even knew until other people pointed it out. I had dabbled in a bunch of different areas and I was trying to hone what it is that I actually do because, I'm helping somebody with their editorial system and then I'm helping someone with their digital product launch and then I'm helping someone organize their customer support inbox. I'm like, I don't know what the heck this is. I'm just doing a lot of things. That's all I really know. And one of my bosses at the time, I was an employee of hers, she pointed out like, oh, like you're really good at organization and processes. Like, can you go around to my different departments in my company and put a process together and then hire somebody and train somebody to maintain it? Because a lot of people in hiring, it's a little bit off topic, but still good nugget, is a lot of people when they're hiring, they hire people to both create and maintain. And generally speaking, people are either creators or maintainers. And so you're kind of setting yourself up for failure if you're putting the creation and maintenance on one person. And so, she knew, okay, you are clearly the creator of systems and processes. So let's then hire somebody then to maintain it because the system is really easy to maintain at that point. And you can also usually hire somebody that's lower per hour to do the maintenance side of things. So it honestly was my boss at the time. And then I just realized that I like the creation aspect and then she actually wanted me to continue to be a maintenance person because we were having a hard time hiring for one specific area. And I just got like a no in my gut and did not have a plan, which I do not recommend to anybody, and just said, I'm going to give you my 6 weeks and I'll figure it out. So here I am doing systems and processes for people now, just one-on-one work, really in-depth intensives. And I love it. It's totally my jam.
I love it too. And I also love that I don't recommend it to anyone either, but I don't know if I don't know if we ever talked about it, but I too just went I quit without,
You did.
I
No.
did, with no plan, no nothing. And I only had to give 2 weeks notice. So it was like, bye-bye. Now what? Right? I'm going to figure it out. So that's cool.
Totally.
So you discovered then that you were the creative or the person that could create the systems. You were not in the person that was ideal to run the systems. I love talking about systems too, because a lot of times people don't understand what a process or a system means. And right now, as we're recording, personally, I'm going through growth and needing to hire people to implement systems. And it's so true. It's not difficult. Once a system has been created, it's just a matter of finding the person that's reliable, that's detail oriented enough, and willing to just follow the steps. It's like when you create a system, and you're big on automation too. What I love about I love people, and I know we can't replace people. And whenever years ago I would see these like sci-fi movies about robots ruling the earth and replacing people, I was like, oh my gosh, I want that to happen. But sometimes, like, honestly, when you can create a system and it's so easy, the workflow is so simple, and if you can not find a person and you can find some sort of technology that will like fulfill the system, fulfill the workflow process without you doing it, it's kind of exciting, no?
It's super exciting. And a lot of people have the fear of, this is going to be impersonal. People are going to feel like I'm, not really there with them. And here's my pushback a little bit is, would you rather have their experience with you be meeting them where they're at, or currently you've literally emailed somebody 3 weeks later than you should have? Like, what is the experience that you want your people to have? People want you to be responsive. People want to know that you can anticipate their next need. And we are one human being, and we cannot possibly anticipate every single person's needs when they have them. And so that is what software and systems and tools are there for, is to help us support our clients, our customers, whoever you serve, because we can't possibly, someone's going to be emailing us at 12:30 at night. I will be up, but I'm not going to be responding to them. So my system can, fill that gap for me, because if we were running around trying to keep up with all of that, we would all go insane.
Yeah, totally. Cool. So you quit your job with 6 weeks notice, knew that you were a great systems creator. Then what? Like, how did you create this business? And you haven't been in business very long, relatively. So let's talk about that. When was that? And we're recording here on the last day of August of 2017 right now. How long have you been in business? And what was it like to go from having that stable job to not?
Yes. So I pretty much was like, okay, so if systems are going to be my jam, I know that I'm really good at selling myself. So I'm, not going to go into digital creation. I'm a huge advocate of starting your business and services and not jumping into the passive income route right away when you get into business. And so I was like, okay, well, I'm just going to come up with a retainer. It was like $3,500 a month, and I was going to be on someone's team. I really enjoyed that because it allowed me to be in as many different software and tools as possible to really expand my knowledge of just like all the things. So I, reached out to my like semi-decent network because I had been in the online marketing industry for a couple of years, and just said, this is what I want to do. Like, do you know of anybody that's been asking for it? And basically the package was just creating systems, whether editorial. I pretty much stuck to editorial, launch, and those were pretty much it. Customer support, I guess, is one that I did as well. So I ended up getting 3 monthly retainer clients by the time my 6 weeks was up, which is insane. So I made whatever, like 4 times as much as I did my normal monthly payments. And I was like, this is bananas. It shouldn't be this easy. And I honestly had a lot of shame around it because I was like, you know what? I'm going to eat ramen. I'm going to like do this whole hardcore like entrepreneur thing. I'm ready for it. And then it was an easy transition. I'm not saying it was easy for long, but it was a very smooth transition, which again, just kind of gave me the green light of, okay, this is what you're meant to be. These are who you're meant to serve. And I did that for about the first 7 months. So this was May 2016 is when May 1st is my business anniversary. Yeah. So I'm still a little bit of a biz baby. And so I did that for the first 7 months and realized pretty much in September. So May, June, July, August, September. So 5 months in September, I had all three of my clients launching at the same time. Insanity is what I would call that. When you are the systems person, whether it's, connecting different email sequences, whether it's writing all of the email copy, whether it is making sure just things are in line, it's like bananas. It's one thing to do one launch at a time. It's another to do three. And I was like, I can't sustain this. This is not actually going to happen. And of course, my clients don't all know that everybody in my world is launching. So they're like, ah. So September, I decided that I was going to start to wean off my monthly retainers and move more into what I'm doing now, which is intensives, because I'm really good at short focus bursts. Focus is my number one strength in Strength Finders. So I was like, I'm going to go all in to intensives. So then by January of 2017, I'd weaned off all except for one of my monthly retainer clients because it was super processed on what I had to do with her. And then I started transitioning. So there was like literally about a 2-month span of like no new clients, which was scary and like, oh my gosh. And then kind of moving into things and getting my groove, I started to notice that it's pretty much a 3 to 8 month sales process for people to sign on with me, which is kind of long. So I just knew that I had to nurture. And I was visible on Facebook Lives. I was going to events, connecting with people. And that's how I started to grow this intensives business.
So let's talk about 3 to 8 month sales. That's long. And nurture. What did you do? What do you do that generally gives the best results? How you nurture? Because this isn't something we talk a lot about, and this is something people I think get really confused about. Is they have a sales call and they expect it to close, and it doesn't, and so then they're like, oh well, and they might drop by in a couple months and say, hey, you still interested or something like that, but they're not really nurturing and they're not really engaging. So 3 to 8 months. Number one, I'm curious, how did you figure that out? And number two, what do you do in that time frame that turns a warm lead into a client?
Totally. So I'm a huge numbers geek, so I need to know these things because otherwise I'll just have a panic attack. So the 3 to 8 months kind of came from basically when I started nurturing people in May. I had my monthly retainers, but I started the nurturing process. I started my podcast in July, System Saved Me, and I got my first intensive client technically in December. So there was kind of this lull of, okay, like just warming people up. And again, it was mainly Facebook and events. Those are like Facebook Lives and events are kind of those are the two ways that people come to me. Also referrals. So business coaches are probably my biggest referral. So I knew that I needed to honestly nurture them more. And then they would pass their clients along to me. That was the quickest route. So that's the kind of the 3-month route of nurturing business coaches, marketing coaches, those sorts of people, because they don't want to handle execution. They don't want to handle implementation. So I'm honestly doing a service to them because then their clients get off their back.
So let me just pause you there for a second, because
Okay.
you mentioned the podcast, you mentioned the Facebook Lives. So these aren't one-to-one nurturing. You're not having a sales call and then continuing to nurture them individually. How are you getting them to engage with you in your podcast or your Facebook Lives or your different avenues for providing value?
Gotcha. So yeah, my sales calls happen like I have pretty much like a 75% close rate. Again, I know that because of numbers. So I know that once I get them on the call, it's pretty much a go. the 3 to 8 months is prior to the sales call. So they just really need to understand one, I'm a big fan of the awareness spectrum, which I don't know if you're familiar with, but, people kind of move from unaware to most aware. And unaware people, I'm going to use a mosquito bite as an example. So people who are unaware, they just know that something itches. They honestly don't even know that it's a mosquito bite. They just know it itches and it hurts and it's annoying. Then they move into product aware, which is, I know it, or problem aware, excuse me. I know that's a mosquito bite, but they don't know what the solution is to it. They just know it's a mosquito bite and they know that they shouldn't have it anymore. Then they move into solution aware, which is, okay, it itches, it's a mosquito bite. I need calamine lotion, but what kind of calamine lotion do I need? There's like several brands, there's one at Walgreens. Do I get it on Amazon? I don't know. Solutions, calamine lotion. Then they move into product aware, which is people who understand that I sell the best calamine lotion ever. So when you have a mosquito bite, you're going to come and buy my calamine lotion because you know and like and trust me. And then most aware is just like, I will buy anything that Jordan sells me. We like those people. So I think in that realm. So a lot of my content is based on, the itches and the mosquito bites, in quotations, of the people that I serve, so that then when they, are more solution aware or more product aware on my end, again, that's when they're getting on the sales calls with me. So that's kind of how I warm them up. And that's just through the Facebook Lives, through the podcast. I mentioned my mini trainings that I create. I mention, different things that I might have going on, events that I'm speaking at that they can come join. All of that sort of stuff to kind of warm them up. So it really came from just email addresses, capturing email addresses in a variety of ways. And I didn't, I had 900 people on my list a month ago. So, now I have 2,100 because of the launch, but, I didn't have a huge list. I don't need per se a huge list because I am doing one-on-one work and it's super specialized, but people are on my list for a while.
Got it. Thank you. Thank you for explaining that. Okay.
Yeah.
Can you continue where you were, or did I totally mess you up when you were in the flow?
Oh, no, I'm good. Now I'm probably messed up, but
yeah, because you were talking and I was like, wait a minute, let me stop you there for a second.
So were we talking about sales cycle and how I know it's 3 to 8 months?
Yeah.
Okay. So, so then my first client that was in December knew about me October-ish, beginning of October. She came into my sphere. And actually it was a non-online friend that told her about me, which is funny because I'm like, none of my online friends know anything about what I do. So it's funny how my first intensive client came from her. So she mentioned my name. And so she got on my email list, listened to some podcast interviews, just kind of like going along for a couple months. And then she had a launch that happened and just realized, okay, I don't have a lot of systems. I don't have this stuff. So she's problem aware. And she knows that she needs some sort of solution. And because I was in her world for the past 2.5 months, she reached out to me because she knew that I had the solution that she was looking for. And so that's because, the business that I have kind of runs similar to insurance for most people. They don't know they need systems until something becomes so crazy, overbearing, ridiculous, or they have a bad hire or their launch goes terrible or whatever else. And so then they come to me. I can't anticipate when that's going to happen for everybody. So I know that I just have to build that rapport, connect. And then, the 8 months, is somebody that actually, I met her last summer. And then she recently reached out, 8 months from then. It was like July of last year. So I think it was, February or March, she reached out. So it's kind of this, I'm still molding it, but I know kind of 3 to 8 months is kind of what I'm seeing right now.
Awesome. And you talked about you have a 5-minute client onboarding process. Please explain. I know my listeners want to know just as much as I do what that is.
Totally. So it is very quick. And it's 18 steps. Again, I'm a numbers person. You got to break it down for me or I'm not going to understand it. So the 5 minutes is pretty much taking the payment. So I always take payment over the phone. That's the sales process that I learned, and that works for me. Take their credit card over the phone. That's part of the 5 minutes is me processing that in Stripe. And then I have created a automated workflow in Dubsado, which is one of my favorite client management softwares ever. They have amazing client experience.
Dubsado, can you spell that?
Yes, it's D as in dog, U, B as in boy, S as in Sammy, A, what is it? D, B, S, A, and then D as in dog again, and then O.
Cool.
Yeah. And they have the most amazing customer experience on the internet, like hands down. And actually Becca was a part of my summit that just happened. And she's super wonderful and smart and amazing. And basically inside of Dubsado, I start a workflow. So the 5 minutes is me logging in, putting their name, their address, their phone number, their email. And then I basically hit the button, start intensive workflow. And automatically Dubsado sends the contract. Once the contract is signed, then they automatically get a questionnaire email. So, okay, thanks for agreeing. Now you need to do this. It takes about 45 minutes. It's like a very long questionnaire. And then once that's done, then actually Chelsea on my team gets notified to schedule them. So they can't even get on my calendar until that happens. And, if you have a business that, Chelsea doesn't technically need to do it, but I have 4-hour chunks of time, so I'm not going to block that off on my calendar. So if you have shorter, just 1 hour coaching calls or something with folks, then you can automatically send a scheduling link to your Acuity so then they can schedule the call. So all of that stuff can be automated, and that's it. That is it.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Very cool. Cool. And then, so we were talking before we hit record about your awareness. So you mentioned that you just had this launch. You launched a summit, and it was your first one, and lots of things went wrong, as they do on everybody's summit. So anybody listening who hasn't done a summit, who thinks, I want to do a summit, hey, that's awesome, but be prepared for one of the most common things I hear, and it's happened to me twice out of 2 summits. It's happened on both summits, and it happened to Jordan. Your website will probably go down at some point. All kinds of crazy things can happen, but you had a lot of challenges, and yet it was a really good experience. And you also came to an awareness that you really enjoy the one-to-one over the one-to-many. And this is something that we hear over and over, that in order to grow your business, in order to scale your business, you have to have stuff that is more passive and that you can deal with one-to-many. So can you tell us about, that kind of awareness and how you see yourself growing your business, knowing that that's what you love to do?
Yeah. So, the summit, when we were talking earlier, I was talking about how sales is not necessarily an issue for me or where my problem lies. Traffic is. And so, trying to do traffic generating activities. I love the idea of summits. I liked summits done the way that I did them, in the sense of their trainings. And I really enjoyed connecting with people and collaborating. That's a huge, huge value of mine. So I was like, summit would be fun. And so I got people together and all of that. And so I know that portion of the summit was really enjoyable. The part that made me realize that actually one-on-one work is just what I love and what makes me sing is having to talk in a very broad way to a mass amount of people. I mean, I had 1,200 people. So it's a good amount of people to be saying things to, versus I'm on a sales call with somebody. I know your name. I know your business. I know where you live. I know how many kids you have, all of that stuff. That stuff is what's exciting to me. I'm an in-depth person, which my love language is, if you follow that, my love language is quality time. So I'm we're going deep. And so it makes sense that I like that kind of work. And from the summit moving forward, there's kind of always been a mentorship sort of thing kind of brewing with me. I've actually been mentoring a couple people for the past couple months. It's been very just easy. It's 2 calls a month. Very I like simple. I don't like complicated. And I really think that, you know, service-based business owners that are OBMs, that are project managers, VAs, stuff like that, they don't realize when they're starting their business, once they cap their hours, they basically have two ways to go, and it's agency or into the work that I'm doing, which is more strategy. And so I want to help them understand what that next step is, because again, a lot of them then go into course creation or stuff like that, and they don't have audiences. They're on a team for somebody. I know I didn't have an audience when I left somebody's team. And so just understanding what those options are. And then, okay, if you want to do the strategy intensive work, awesome. Like I have tons of stuff for you on how to do that. Agency work, awesome. You have to clone yourself, basically. I know how to do that. So it's understanding how to basically move these people into their new zone of genius, because at a certain point when you're a service-based person, your hours are going to cap and you're going to have to make a decision. It's inevitable. So I just want to be there for them when that happens, to help support them in that way. And it's honestly kind of a more consulting mentorship than it is a coaching. I don't necessarily think I'm the greatest coach, but because I'm like, listen, bro, pull up your pants and go. And so I want it to be, you know, more teaching and all of that stuff. But again, I could probably do it in a group coaching program. That even is like a little bit to me. So we'll see. But I've enjoyed the couple of people that I've been mentoring in that capacity. And so I think I'll probably just expand that. And then potentially if they're saying, I need more support, I want to know other people who are going through the same thing, then I could pull it into a group coaching program or something.
Cool. So can I give you some feedback? Is that cool?
Oh yeah. Please.
Okay. Because I think, Jordan, you and I are very similar in a lot of ways. And I think a lot of the people in my audience, you know, I get on sales calls with people who are like, I feel like I know you. I feel like, you know, we're from the same place. And so I think this might be valuable to a lot of people because I am also somebody who values quality of time, quality of connection, relationships. Like that's my thing. And so what I recently realized was that I love the one-on-one. I love that mentorship coaching piece where I can help somebody go really fast to that next place that they're trying to get to when it comes to visibility and kind of connectedness. I'm not like you with systems, but I understand systems. And so what happens for a lot of people with lead generation, you know, whether they're using podcast guesting, whether they're, you know, driving traffic from Facebook ads, whether they're speaking and offering something, like whatever way they're generating traffic, there are gaps between converting a visitor to a lead and a lead to a sale. And so in those funnels, as we call them, that's what I help a lot of my clients with because they're amazing. They're experts at their thing, but they just don't know what they don't know. So we fill in the gaps. Anyways, I love that work. And so on the one hand, I do the podcast guesting booking, which is great. And that's my zone of excellence. But my zone of genius is that coaching and that mentorship. And so what I have recently done, which might be of interest to you and to some of my audience, is I decided, because my time is really important. And what I was doing before was I was like going whenever there was that sale, right? Like I was constantly having this revolving door and it was exhausting. So now what I'm trying on and what seems to be going really well is I have an enrollment period. So I just enrolled new clients for that mentorship coaching experience that includes VIP day, it includes strategy calls, it includes weekly follow-ups, it includes very high touch connection. Plus, for the visibility piece, the podcast guesting piece, we meet in a group once a month. So so the group knows each other, but they're each working individually with me on their own stuff. And at the end of the 6-month contract, we are going on a cruise together, to mastermind together, to hang out, and to do just have fun, right? Because that's just reinforcing those connections. So I love my new model, and it's exciting because again, we're recording on the last day of August of 2017, and I feel so like free, and I feel so good that I can work with each of these clients for the next 6 months, and I don't have to worry about anything else, because the next time I'm taking on new clients is January. So now anybody that wants to work with me in this coaching or mentorship capacity, they can go and apply. And I'll just drop the URL in case anybody's listening is like, wait a minute, I want to work with you. It's interviews.convert.com/2018 2018. So you can apply now or whenever to say, all right, I want to explore this. I'm looking to you for, mentorship and coaching, and they'll be on the list. So in December, we'll have those sales calls and we'll find out if it's a fit, explore that. And then again, we're going to start for 6 months in January. And then those new clients will also be welcomed to come in February to our cruise. So now I'm mixing the two, and so I don't know if that's interesting to you or interesting to anybody else, but man, when I figured it out, I was like, this allows me to do all the production stuff that I do and still really serve and support people in a very high touch, very deep way without running round the clock to do it.
I love that. No, I really, really like that. I definitely have been trying to figure out, I guess people didn't call it enrollment periods, but I like how there is that kind of set time that I'm on sales calls, and then the rest is the serving part. And so, yeah, so you had VIP day. Sorry to have you repeat this. I'm like,
no problem. I think I'm happy to. Yeah. So you talked about your 4-hour chunks. I love those intensives too. So what happens is once my client becomes a client, we do a kickoff together. So everybody is together. I have a secret Facebook group so that they can get ongoing support, anything surrounding, because they're all working on visibility and getting booked on podcasts. So anything related to that, they can use the group to say, hey, I just got booked on this podcast and this was my experience, or I just did this interview and this was my experience, or oh my gosh, I made this mistake, because everybody goes through the same stuff. And that's what I was finding is I was spending a lot of time teaching the same principles that I thought, wait a minute, why not do this? And so previously I did it as a group, which was amazing. But my group last time, what I was recognizing was that these people needed help filling those gaps. Because, for example, I have one client who I was working with in that group format the last time I ran it, and she had been on a show called EO Fire, Entrepreneur on Fire, with John Lee Dumas, which is, he boasts 1.3 million downloads a month. People are like desperate to get on that show, thinking it's going to change their life. And I know a lot of people who've been on that show and have gotten very, very dismal results from it. And there's a reason for that. There's a number of reasons for that. And so I teach my clients those reasons. So this client in particular, she was on that show. She got 30 opt-ins between January. She was on it in January, and we did the case study in either end of June or beginning of July. Between that time, she had 30 opt-ins from that opportunity to be on one of the most popular shows, podcasts in this niche, this entrepreneurial space. Well, we dialed in her processes. We dialed in her funnel. We went through all the places where, there were gaps from the time you get on the interview to past it and so on. And she did an interview on another show, which was 2 weeks before we did the case study. And in that time, brought in over 600 opt-ins from that one appearance, brought in over 20 sales calls from that one appearance, and over $20,000 in new business from that one appearance. So these are things that I can either go through with people individually, which gets tiring, or we can go through as a small group. And so when I find that when we do it as a small group, like the results are so much more, because everybody can see the behind the scenes and we can discuss it. So with the way the model works now is all the new clients come together for a kickoff call in this private Facebook group, our secret Facebook group, and then anything regarding podcast guesting can go in there, questions and interactions and so on. And we meet monthly. But other than that, after that welcome call, then they get to do a 4-hour VIP day with me, where we map out their plan for the next 12 to 18 months, we look at their goals and we map out the strategy. And then from there, we meet monthly to review that strategy, make sure, things are aligned, but they also get contact with me for accountability every single week individually. So there's lots and lots of opportunities to touch, and then it culminates with, or at least this round of it culminates with the Mastermind cruise. But my next group will be starting a month before the Mastermind cruise. So they'll also be on that Mastermind cruise. So that's that opportunity also to collaborate, to joint venture. And I work with high-level people. I work with very bright, very talented people. And what's really neat is they're all like-minded, and they all have something that connects with the others. So like you said, your best referrals are coaches who have clients. They don't want to do that. That's not their wheelhouse, but they know you. And so there's a nice intertwining there. So I know it was like really long explanation, but does that make sense?
Yeah, no, that totally makes sense. Yeah, I love that. And I think it's cool that also the rounds are kind of meeting also together. I'm like a huge connector person. So any way that I can connect with people, I'm like in. So that's really cool. Yeah, that just makes me think so much bigger than what I was thinking. I just was like, I just want to make it simple. And this still is really simple.
It's so simple. It just took a while to figure it out. It's so simple.
Right.
It's like I meet with each of my clients once a month, but we stay in touch every week, right? Well, I meet with the whole group once a month, and then I meet with each of them once a month. So
Gotcha.
It's like my calendar frees up. It feels amazing. They get amazing results. So for Jordan, maybe that's a model that you might like to try on or to, get inspiration from. Anybody that's listening as well, if you also feel like the relationship is really important to you and you really want to go deep with people, but you also realize that you only have so much time, you only have so much capacity. Think about this. Think about, if you have that, if everybody's kind of at this similar level, all my clients aren't at the same level, but they all have complementary personalities. That was a big thing too, is I only take on people that I think are a good fit for me and my personality, which means they're going to get along well together as well. And who I 110% believe that I can help and believe that they are going to put in the work. And so all of these people have similar attributes. And so when you come together, that's that mastermind principle at work there, right?
Totally. And it's funny. I'm in 4 masterminds right now, which is I'm about to get rid of one of them, honestly. But so I totally believe in the mastermind power. And it's funny because all of mine are peer led. And so, I was in a sales mastermind, for about 6 months, and that was really, really helpful. And then, I'm good at sales, so it just doesn't make sense for me to continue on in that capacity. And so it's really been awesome to be a part of, people are in different arenas, but it's very true, like-minded, and we all are striving. We all have the drive to put in the work and to get stuff done. So it's super powerful, if you have a mastermind that's peer-led or mastermind. I've done both and I see value in both. So I totally get it.
Very cool. Well, on the one hand, I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. I've taken up so much of this interview. But on the other hand, I hope it was of value.
No, it totally was. I'm like, oh my gosh, this just became like a coaching call or something. And I'm every second of it.
Definitely. And, I love that. I love how, and you're a podcaster as well. I love how as podcasters, we create a space to serve our clients and our community and our friends and our mentors in the best way that works for them. And one of the things that is important to me is being able to go wherever it goes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. I'm such a planner, but going with the flow, or, the things that have brought me the most, I guess, success or whatever have been things that I honestly haven't worked for. It's the weirdest thing, which drives me insane a little bit. But it's like simple things that I'm just like, I meet someone at a coffee shop and then all of a sudden I'm doing, you know, a community speaking engagement with them or something. And I'm like, I didn't even work, like we just met like at the coffee, we were just sitting next to each other. You know what I mean? And it's like, it's this whole, you know, obviously you want to work hard and do the work and all that stuff, but also be open to receiving what comes of this. Obviously this podcast interview, I needed to, you know, I'm like brewing about this thing. And all of a sudden now I'm like super clear about how I want to like run this and how it's going to be comfortable for me, still being one-on-one, still like giving me life and giving my clients life, but also in a way that makes sense, just generally speaking, logistically as well, which is awesome.
That's awesome. I'm so glad. That's the biggest thing is like getting people's minds going. How can I apply this? Like I am actually going to go back and write down, and I've heard it before, but when you were talking about the awareness cycle, I was like, I know about that, but I need a structure. I need that like reminder in front of my face. I'm like, oh, I'm going to go back and, you know, create a document from that. In fact, maybe I'll even share it with, with my listeners on the show notes page.
That'd be super awesome.
Yeah. So I think that's so great that whenever we talk with people, again, that mastermind principle comes in, right? We share our own thoughts and experiences, and I hope that the audience is also getting lots of value out of this this experience overall. So Jordan, one more question and then we'll start wrapping it up. You were talking before about your 4 hours and about how you really love those intensives. So can you tell me, like, you know, what does that entail? Like when you decided I'm going to create some intensives, since you're a systems person, do you have a system for that and a structure for those intensives, or what do they look like?
Yeah. So they, you know, I started out doing them for 3 hours and I recognized that I was bonusing a lot of hour calls because we just needed that extra hour. So now they're 4 hour intensive. So it wasn't perfect right out the gate. But then, you know, what that looks like is someone will come to me and say, you know, I'm having a really hard time balancing the client, like maintaining my clients and bringing in new ones. Cool. So we will literally in 4 hours go from someone's inquiring on your website to offboarding a client. We'll literally automate and then, you know, figure out the manual side of things in those 4 hours. Like we're working together. We're on a Zoom call. I take remote control of your computer, like kind of creepy, but I love it. And, you know, we go through and put those things in place because I work with people who have all the things in place. Generally speaking, I don't work with people who don't have a contract or don't have an invoice or have never gotten a client before. I'm working with people who are in the motion. They have all the pieces. We just have to tweak and move and shift a few things to make sure that it's all working seamlessly. So that can be done in 4 hours. And, you know, it's funny because people are like, you know, my investment of that is 4 figures. And they're like, oh my gosh, 4 figures, like 4 hour, like that seems insane. And I'm like, listen, you can pay somebody else to do this across a month for you, or you can get a shot of it with me for 4 hours. And then they're like, okay, I get it. Because a lot of people who do the work that I do, just, it takes so long. And I'm like, why? And it's a lot of times just because of psychology of how you say, you know, this is 4 figures and you're spending 4 hours with me. But it's because it really is speed, and people who are high achievers will pay for speed because it's like, I want this right now. Let's just like knock it out. And so I know that if they're uncomfortable with that, then they probably aren't my people.
Yeah, that makes so much sense. You want results. Like there's plenty of information out there. If you want to go out there and figure it out on your own, or, you know, get free content, perfect, right? But if you're at a place where, you know, you are bringing in clients and you are bringing in business, it's an investment in something that's going to stretch out over 3 months or 4 months to get the results that you can get in one day. It's just, you know, it's a bit of a silly, it's a bit of a silly decision, but I think you have to be aware of that because you were talking about the awareness cycle, right? And it's like, I know for myself, I wouldn't be aware of this. I wasn't aware of this a year ago. Like a year ago, I couldn't, I mean, I love intensives and I can see the value in intensive. I've always been able to. But comparing, okay, this result, getting this for 4 figures in one day or getting it for 3 figures in a month, a year ago, I probably would have chosen the month. Now, hell no. Just let's get it done. Let's knock it out and let's move forward.
Yeah, exactly. So speed, and it's funny because, when I talk with other people that I mentor about that, of just being like, this seems like a lot. I don't understand. It's like people pay for speed. Like that is because time you can't get back. So, I save my clients a ton of time by spending just 4 hours with them. They're going to be happy campers, like done deal, point blank. And so whether it is the client experience, that's usually what people come to me for. It can also be like their event process. So the pre-event process of handling attendees, speakers, and sponsorships. So we go through and automate as much of that as far as they're just going to be collecting a lot of people going different routes. And then, I've had people also do just like launch strategy mapping and stuff like that. So it kind of ranges what people need, but I tend to serve service-based people. So managing your clients is quite a task. That's like your whole business. So making sure that that's right and tight and you're not going insane is really, really crucial.
And that they feel really fulfilled and are your raving fans, right? The
client
experience is important.
So important.
Awesome. So why don't you let my listeners know if they want to continue the conversation with you, how can they do that?
Yes. So I have a quiz. It will be up, I believe, by the time that this comes out. If you just go to systemsaveme.com and there's a quiz and it tells you with basically, I think there's 4 questions, and it lets you know how to find the right tools for your business and your budget. So I have gone through, there's 6 different possibilities of, between different budgets. And then also if you are an infopreneur or a service-based business owner, I've done all of the heavy lifting of just like, here's all the tools that I know can talk to each other and make what needs to happen for you. And so it's really awesome. It's free. You get the results for free. You get the list of infographics for free. And it's just to really get you started thinking about your workflow instead of just, I have this tool for this and this tool for this and 17 tools over here.
Workflow, super, super important.
Yes, it is.
Jordan, thank you so much for being here with us today on the Business Building Rockstar Show. It was an honor, a privilege, as always. I adore you.
I adore you too. I was so looking forward to today.
Yay, I'm happy.
Yes.
Cool. So we'll wrap it up here, and thank you so much for being with us today.
Yeah, thanks so much for having me.